difficult for you to accept a different role with this Padres team, or something that you can embrace?
No, I definitely can embrace that. Like I'm saying, fresh start, new group. San Diego, I think, is a very talented team. There's a lot of veterans here. Also, the city of San Diego has never won a World Series. So, however I can contribute to that and lift, this team up to accomplish that goal, I'm more than willing to do so.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Marty Time TV. I am Marty Cassavell. That is a familiar face in AJ Cassavell. We are brought to you by the all-new Jamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. All right, AJ, wait a second. That background looks different. I don't see an Olive Garden. I don't see Applebee's. I don't see, a bunch of some cactus. You made it back home. Well done. You escaped for a couple days.
I'm home for a few days, and I always say spring training is a wonderful time. It's a wonderful vibe. It's about 3.5 weeks too long if you're spending the whole time there. So any of those 3.5 weeks that you can chip off, I'm happy to do that, and I'll get a few days off here coming up.
Well, good for you. And thank you for making some time before you go ahead and you disconnect from the world, maybe watch Real Baseball Classic, maybe watch some soccer, which I'm guessing is in your future. There's a lot to get to. Maybe you can adjust to daylight savings. You can help out with Carlo. It's been, man, it's something else with kids, isn't it? Daylight savings, fun stuff. Welcome back, AJ.
I didn't have to deal with it. I wasn't back home yet. So today he slept in later than he otherwise would have. Which is fine by me if that's the product of daylight savings in my first morning back. So yeah, I big fan. We never deal with daylight savings in Arizona. Like that's kind of one of the perks of spring training. Everyone else gets a shorter day. It doesn't happen in Arizona. So I was there for that this year, and I usually am. And it's a lot better that way.
Okay, good deal. All right, to start today's show, I played a clip of Nick Castellanos talking about fitting in with the Padres, and you asked him a series of questions about playing first base. That conversation feels like it was 2 years ago. The Padres have made a ton of moves since then. But going to Castellanos, AJ, how has he looked so far at first base? And what do you think the real expectation is going to be for him going forward as to where he plays and how often?
Yeah, it's kind of a complicated question because how he's looked, he hasn't looked great, but he's looked like he's getting better. And I don't think you would expect a guy who's never played first base in his life to look great at first base immediately. And so that's, to me, that's the biggest thing. I don't think the Padres need him at first base. Like it's kind of a luxury if he were to be able to handle the position. And I'll put it this way. In the first few games, he made a couple plays going to his right. He chased a couple balls going to his right that he shouldn't have. He left the bag vacated. I think that's an obvious mistake that you make if you've never played first base in your life, because every single other position you've ever played, when the ball's hit, you run toward the ball. At first base, you run back to the bag. So if Castellanos has like as a couple days acclimating to that, that's totally fine. I think those were probably the site of his biggest mistakes. He's made some really nice plays, like coming off the bag and turning towards second, starting a double play. He's made nice plays ranging to his right, diving stops. I think the ceiling is like a pretty good first baseman who's athletic enough, and there are people that are smarter than me who are ready to kind of proceed with this as a possibility. The fact of the matter is, if he's not good enough, well, then the Padres can put Gavin Sheets or Miguel Andujar there. Castellanos can DH on a pretty regular basis, and he can fill in the corner outfield spots. I know he hasn't played much corner outfield because he's been getting so many reps at first base.
Okay.
I think the Padres think he can just slot right back into the corner outfield. He's done that for the last 8 years. It's not like he's not going to do that. So if Tatis needs a day at DH, if Laureano needs a day at DH, if Merrill needs a day at DH and you want to slide Laureano to center, like there's a ton of options for Castellanos. He doesn't have to be excellent at first. I think he's been, I would say, fine. The good news is he's gotten every sort of play. Like that's all the Padres wanted. They wanted him tested. They wanted him thrown into these moments, and he's getting all sorts of different reps. It seems like every time he plays, there's some different kind of situation or some different kind of ball hit to him.
So he can make the routine plays.
Yeah, yes. I guess like things like breaking towards second versus breaking toward first, you would consider that routine for a first baseman, but that's also something that like Craig Stammen pointed out that it happened 3 times. I don't know what day it is. Who knows what day it is anymore? I think it's Tuesday. So on Sunday's game, he started at first, and it happened 3 different times where it was a ground ball to second, and he went and covered first. And these are things that like I don't pick up because it looked normal. But when Castellanos was breaking the other direction, it didn't look normal. but the fact that he's adjusted and now it looks routine is a positive thing. So I think he could be. There's a chance he's the opening day first baseman.
Who is the Padres right now, as things stand? Who is the Padres' best defensive first baseman? If you are in a tight ball game, the Padres are going to play, I'm sure, a lot of those that they have in the past, and you're making a switch late innings. Who does Craig Stammen slot in at first base?
Well, it's probably Jake Cronenworth, but you don't have enough cover offensively to have. I guess if you keep, depends how you make the roster. Ty France is the reigning Gold Glove winner at first base. So I think his path to a roster spot is open. The interesting thing about Sung-Mun Song's oblique issue is that I don't think the Padres, this wasn't like a recurrence of an oblique injury, so it's not like a thing that's going to keep him out for weeks and weeks like oblique injuries usually do. Like he had the oblique injury in the offseason, and then it was sore, so it wasn't fully all the way healed. It didn't happen again and set him all the way back to the start. So anyway, long way of saying he's back in a few weeks.
Okay.
But if he misses opening day, you have options now, and you can kind of figure out what you want to do at first base based on those options. If Ty France is hitting enough, and Ty France seems to be hitting enough, you can keep him on the roster as your backup second baseman and as your first baseman who comes in as a defensive replacement late in games. There's now a path for Ty France to have that spot. And I think if you're carrying Castellanos, Sheets, and Duhar, rotating those guys around first base, like all of them, I think they have potential to be above average first baseman or at least average first baseman. They're not right now. So if you're carrying Ty France, that helps you when those guys take their last at bat in the seventh inning. You bring in Ty France. You don't lose too much offensively because he's decent enough hitter. And then he's a very good defender, so you can plug him in at first base.
I love AJ. I love how you're answering all the questions I was going to ask but did not ask yet. I mean, they have a lot. There's been a bunch of guys the Padres added after the fact, after I left. I should have stayed a little bit longer. Alex Verdugo is another one of those guys. What is a potential role for him if he can find a way onto this roster?
I think he's more of a just minor league depth. Like there's not a corner spot for him available right now. But if any of these guys get hurt, then all of a sudden you have an option who's a left-handed hitting option who has a track record of making things happen. He needs to prove it. He needs to hit at wherever he starts, AAA or wherever, most likely AAA. He needs to hit there to like earn that opportunity. But I don't know. You know how baseball season works. It's 162 games. Guys get hurt, and it's probably sometimes better if you give them those 10 days off and get them rested and like have a guy capable of coming in and filling in. And so if he's hitting, there's some depth that the Padres just acquired. Okay,
speaking of hitting and depth, and you mentioned Sung-Mun Song, who I'm going to call Mooney because he says that his nickname is Mooney and he likes Chipotle. I'm looking forward to you writing an extensive piece on his love of Chipotle. He loves the chicken bowl, double protein. That's his go-to meal. I had this conversation with Darren Smith yesterday when we were doing a show for Friar Territory on the Foul Territory Network. And he said, can this guy hit? Do the Padres think he can hit? What do the Padres like about Sung-Mun Song? And when he does come back, is he a super utility guy? And where is he offensively? And I know you don't want to compare it with Ha-Seong Kim as to where he was when he first came over, but how do you not, right? Same league, same team. Where is he, and what do the Padres like about his bat?
I think it's a fair comparison just because of the competition that they were facing in the KBO. I think the Padres like his bat. It doesn't just translate instantly. It takes time to get used to the velocity and movement on pitches here. It's a step up in competition. I think what the Padres like about Song is he's been able to make some adjustments pretty quickly. Like he looked, I don't want to say overmatched, but it looked like he was a little late catching up to things early in camp. He was swinging and missing a lot. He had kind of a bigger leg kick. He toned down that leg kick, and as soon as he toned down that leg kick, he got a couple hits, and then in the day he left with that injury, he hit a 430-foot home run. So I think the Padres think that there's a decent enough bat in there. You look at his numbers in the KBO, they would indicate as much. And I think you look at some of the projections and how that would project into the big leagues. It looks like he could be a pretty good big league hitter. And how the Padres want to use him, I don't think you're not starting him against left-handed pitching. And you're probably not starting him against all righties either if he's healthy. But if you can start him 4 times a week against right-handed pitching and move him around to second base, third base. I know they've been using him at shortstop. They've been trying to get him a look at shortstop. I think that's valuable because as versatile as you can be, that's that's better. You're better off. I think Jake Cronenworth. I don't know what kind of. I think maybe Mike Schilt didn't love the idea of Jake Cronenworth backing up at shortstop. I don't really see why. I think Jake Cronenworth is an outstanding backup shortstop. He's solid defensively. He's rangy enough, and he makes the routine plays. Like, that's all you want out of your backup shortstop. So I don't know if the Padres need Sung-Mun Song handling shortstop duties, but having him be able to play there is obviously useful because you never know kind of how a game's going to unfold.
Mm-hmm.
So if he backs up at second, then you get Jake Cronenworth a day off. You get Xander Bogaerts a day off because Cronenworth slides to short. You can get Manny Machado a day off. They say they want to do that throughout the season, and they want to be pretty judicious and pretty forward thinking about getting these guys extra days at DH so that come September they're not kind of worn down. It's one thing to say it. I don't know, like, if you're putting Miguel Andujar at third base, that's like such a significant downgrade from Manny Machado defensively. If you're putting Sung-Mun Song at third base, it's not a downgrade. And so I don't know. I don't know how valuable it will be, but I think it'll be extremely useful to have that option. If Sung-Mun Song is hitting, he doesn't need to come in and have an 850 OPS. If he's got a 725 OPS and all this versatility and is figuring out kind of big league pitching along the way, that'll be useful for the Padres.
Who is the Padres opening day starter, and why is it Randy Vasquez?
It should be Randy Vasquez. Randy Vasquez is my favorite Padre. He's just because of how I believe in all. It's not going to be Randy Vasquez. It's likely going to be Nick Pivetta.
Okay.
But I'll go off on a Randy Vasquez tangent because I will always go off on a Randy Vasquez tangent. I believe very deeply in like predictive metrics, and I believe very deeply in FIP, and that pitchers that are struggling, or pitchers that you can have a low ERA and a high FIP, and generally speaking, you're getting lucky. But I really always thought, and that was Randy Vasquez. I really always thought that like Randy Vasquez is pretty good at getting himself out of jams. I think there are just some guys that the metrics miss something on, and I love watching those guys pitch. And the fun part about Randy Vasquez is that he didn't stay the same with those peripheral metrics. Those got better, as opposed to like regressing to the mean. The mean like regressed up to him because he's now throwing 97 miles an hour and missing bats and not walking as many guys. He wasn't as great yesterday, but he's been a standout in spring training. So not the opening day starter, but he'll start on the NL West opener, I would say. What is that? April 1st against the Giants, or March 31st, first divisional game, because that'll be the number 4 spot in the rotation, and I think he's earned that right now.
Okay, so you said that you thought it was Nick Pivetta, right? And by the way, he should be the guy, especially based on everything he did last season. So his opening day status is not in jeopardy?
I mean, it's always in jeopardy if you miss a start. Like he had a start skipped. Right. I think the plan is for him to throw a bullpen session, maybe during the off day, maybe the next day. But I watched him play catch, and it wasn't like this wasn't the Padres have called it arm fatigue. This wasn't like arm fatigue that they're hiding something and the guy's stashed away in the clubhouse, not throwing. I've watched him play catch a couple times, and he's throwing breaking stuff, and so I will be cautious until I see him on a mound again. And missing a start in spring training does lead me to believe that, like, instead of going 6 innings in opening day, maybe he only goes 5, kind of thing. But until I will be skeptical until I see him out there. But it looks like he's on track to get back out there for his next start, which would be, I don't know, Saturday-ish.
Okay, and then when Stanman takes him out in the 5th or 6th inning, he'll be pissed and he'll be angry about it in postgame because Nick Pivetta is back, baby. All right, so I would assume Michael King, right? Michael King would be number 2. Are you assuming that it'd be Joe Musgrove for 3? Where is Joe Musgrove starting to be ready that first week? Or I honestly was mentally slotting in Vasquez as possibly your number 3 starter.
Vasquez is probably number 3. Yeah, I mean, I've been, when you're lining up the guys in terms of like how their ceilings and how talented they are, I think Musgrove's your 3. But more than likely, Musgrove is probably a guy you bump to the back of the rotation to start the process of, let's get this guy 25 starts this year. Like, and how do you, let's have him make 25 starts where he's at his best, as opposed to pushing him every 5th day, which they're not going to do, to get him 32 starts. And so how do you do that? You skip him twice in June randomly when you have a healthy rotation and you want to give Musgrove a breather. You bump him to the back of the rotation on opening day. So, yeah, you're right. But maybe Vasquez isn't opening against the Giants. He might be pitching that Saturday night game against the Tigers.
Okay, good stuff. I think Stammen had an update on Matt Waldron. Now, he's a guy who's out of options. He would have to make this roster, correct?
Well, coming off the operation, I think he can start the season on the IL because he's not going to be fully built up. So he will at some point, I believe, 30 days after opening day or 30 days after the Padres break camp, they will have to have a decision on Matt Waldron, and that gives Matt Waldron maybe a little bit extra time to prove himself, and you don't have to rush back from the operation. So I think they have a whole bunch of options for that number 5 spot. Some of them are guys that like they're either on the roster or you're losing them.
Right.
And Matt Waldron was one of them. He is one of them, but it's a little bit. I think you can put him on the IL to start the season, and he might get into a Cactus League game, but if he's only up to 2 innings, you can still place him on the IL.
So as things stand on March 10th, how are you gauging the competition for the 5th spot?
It's interesting. I am curious to see what Walker Buehler does today. Curious to see what German Marquez does. Those are kind of the guys that I'm looking at. I know it's kind of a 5-man race. If you take Waldron and Griffin Canning out because they're likely not going to be ready for opening day, it's kind of a 5-man race because you have J.P. Sears, Tristan McKenzie, Marco Gonzalez, and I've honestly kind of been impressed with Marco Gonzalez, but I think, and maybe another team has been too, and they can. His contract situation is such where like if you don't have him on opening day, but another team has an opening day spot for him, the Padres would lose him. I just think Buehler and Marquez are the 2 at the front, and it's going to be a competition. They haven't gotten a whole lot of work yet. I don't know what you take from the first few starts of spring. I think those are like build-up starts. I think now it gets into the real like, all right, let's see who goes and wins it. Buehler's interesting because he's not the same Walker Buehler. Like obviously, he's had 2 arm injuries, but he says his elbow's feeling it just stopped hurting him a few weeks ago for the first time since that second surgery. And if he can adjust and adapt and not, he's always thrown a zillion fastballs at the top of the zone. If he adjusts and adapts and becomes like kind of a different kind of pitcher, stuff could be good enough to get that spot. And I think probably the same is true of Marquez.
Okay, AJ, before I send you off into your very, very well-deserved vacation, and then, by the way, I cannot believe that I did not actually start today's show asking you about this. It became such a topic early on in spring training, and that would be the search for the Padres leadoff hitter. Who was the Padres leadoff hitter, and does Craig Stammen even know, or does he have to wait until Tatis comes back? From the championship the championship series versus team blankly blank the WBC to have that conversation.
Yeah, it might be Tatis, and maybe he'll have that conversation. But I am intrigued. I am very intrigued by the idea of Jackson Merrill batting leadoff.
Yep.
So Tatis is a great leadoff option. Like just it's so obvious. Like all the things he does, he can hit a home run, or he can if you pitch around him, he'll get on base and he'll steal second. Just intrigued by the at-bat Jackson Merrill gives you in the leadoff spot, and then if you bat Tatis behind him at 2, like that's a pretty against a righty. Against a lefty, I don't know if I want Jackson Merrill there. I don't know if I want Tatis there because Tatis's splits are a little bit reversed. So maybe that's your chance to go to do this lineup that Stammen's been using with, I think, was it Bogarts, Merrill, Machado, Tatis. Maybe that's against lefties, but you're gonna see more righties. So the regular starting lineup, I'm just very intrigued by the at-bat Jackson Merrill gives you at the top, the speed that he has. I think there's more walks in there. I've seen him kind of take some feistier at bats, and then you're going to have Jackson Merrill on base for Tatis. I know Jackson Merrill is not a prototypical on base leadoff guy, but I think his OBP was 342 against righties last season, or maybe that's over his career. I don't know. That's good enough to hit leadoff, especially with the power threat that you have, and then you get him on base that amount of times, and you have Tatis and Machado hitting behind him. I'm not the manager. Craig's not going to ask me what I think, but I think that's how I would line up against right-handed pitching.
He might ask you. He might ask you. I don't think it's going to be as. I don't
think it would determine what he does. Yeah, I don't think it would determine what he does. Yeah, I have been asked what I would do, but again, that's not what's. I'm not the one making those decisions. So if I were, I like the idea of Merrill, Tatis, Machado.
And who's your cleanup hitter? Or did you just you rotate
Depends
that
on
the way you do your DH?
Yeah, I think if Gavin Sheets is hitting,
Okay.
hit Gavin Sheets there. If Jake Cronenworth's reaching base a lot, you hit him there. That can kind of rotate. But I just like those three guys. And I know there's been a lot of talk about Tatis at the top, but I think I would stick him 2 behind Jackson Merrill and just see how that goes.
Okay, you are finally back from Peoria after spending like a year there. I'm sure it seems like to you. What is the first beer that you go out and get when you get back to San Diego and you get back into your neighborhood?
I got back late last night, and I had the Pizza Port Ponto Session IPA in my fridge. So I had a couple of those and watched some soccer and some WBC highlights.
Good. That's the plan for this week. It's beer, soccer, baseball, Carlo time.
Soccer, WBC, Carlo. I'm very excited to watch baseball on my couch with Carlo because I don't know how much time I'll get to do that during the season, obviously. So, and the WBC just freaking rules. It's awesome.
It's awesome.
So I am my only gripe is these quarterfinals coming up are going to be great. I wish they were double elimination. I don't love the idea of some of these just baseball's baseball and you never know who can lose one game. I think to win a championship, there should be double elimination until the final and then let the final stand alone. The whole tournament is wonderful. It's beautiful. It's awesome. If I were changing one thing, it would be double elimination in the court, like do a College World Series type thing. Double elimination until you get 2 teams and then play a championship game.
I want you to use all the powers that you have with MLB to make sure that the next time it's around, the WBC is played at some point in Petco Park. It has to be in San Diego. Let's go. They've skipped San Diego a couple times. Let's go. Right?
Yeah, it'd be really great. It would be really great. So let's make it happen.
It would be fantastic. All right, AJ Cassavell, you're the man.
I'll probably be in Peoria for it. That's how it's gone the last couple times, sadly. But yes, let's get it at Petco Park, and then I'll take my time off then, and maybe I'll sit in the stands and drink beer and watch a baseball game. That would be wonderful.
That's so amazing. I miss that. I have to do a lot more of that. By the way, I've talked about this with Darren as well, but it's been just so much fun to watch Tatis showing that sort of joy that we know he's capable of. The aura is there, the vibe is there, the dancing. Let's bring that body language back to Petco Park. It's been so much fun to watch. I love it. Let's go, Team DR. I know who AJ Preller is rooting for. It's not Mason Miller to go deep in the WBC. Let's go Team DR and bring that contagious energy back to Petco Park.
That might be who I'm rooting for. They're fun, man. Yes. That's a fun team. They're so fun to watch. I just sit back on my couch and enjoy it and root for baseball.
Right.
But who's better for baseball right now than that Team DR? They're fun as heck.
Venezuela and Team DR. Luis Sarai is doing his thing. That's gonna be the game of the week. Let's do this thing. All right, AJ, you're the man.
Tomorrow.
Thank you it's tomorrow.
Hold on.
Right?
Tomorrow has a chance to be awesome because I think the U.S. is going to beat Italy tonight. So then we're going to have 2 elimination games.
Okay.
We're going to, I think, Canada, Cuba, and Italy, Mexico, and then Venezuela versus DR for the top spot in the group. That is such good stuff. I'm going to be all for it. I'll get to watch it.
That's a prime time matchup. Let's go. I love it. I can't wait. Well, I'm glad you are back with your beer, with your pizza port, with Carlo. It's great to see you. Thank you for your time again, AJ Cassavell. Enjoy the soccer, and I look forward to catching up with you after the fact when you return from your vacation, although you'll be back in Peoria. So thanks for doing this. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching Marty Time TV. I'm Marty Caswell. That is AJ Cassavell. Make sure you follow his fantastic work at Padres.com and on the Twitter. We are brought to you by the all-new Jamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. We will talk to you soon.
수 없겠지만 운동선수로서 이제 전 치폴레를 되게 좋아해가지고 그래가지고 치폴레 많이 먹고 또 살 안 빠지게 관리 잘해야 될 것 같아요.
Yeah, I heard from Hassan Kim that he lose almost 20 pounds that off season, and I'm preparing to work out or eat more, and I love Chipotle, so it'll help too.
Yeah, I like Chipotle.
Chipotle.
Yeah, very good food.